All right, so with tomorrow being your test day on into the lifeboats, you're going to have a comprehension test as always on paper. You're going to have your vocabulary definition test. You're going to have your vocabulary spelling test. Both of those will be on Canvas. You're also going to have a writing test. Now we've built up to this, and I gave you I think two, maybe three of them all first semester. But with each of our stories now, we're going to have a writing test because you're going to need to be able to write and write well when it comes to your standardized test. So hopefully you're seeing with this PowerPoint that there's also a worksheet to be doing, and I want you to follow along with me. We're going to do the first paragraph together, or the first writing prompt together, right? So when it comes to this writing prompt, I need to understand the selection that it's talking about. And it tells me in blue the directions on what I should do, which is to read 7 through 10. And in 7 through 10, we can see Violet discussing several different individuals and how they're being put into the lifeboats and what their reactions are and how they're standing and how some want to go and some don't want to go and some just don't seem to really care, right? So once you've read that, and then we look at what the red writing prompt is. What are the different reactions to leaving and what caused them? Use text to support your answer. So we're going to use our race with the double C. So I'm going to restate an answer in one sentence, and then I'm going to cite evidence in a second sentence. I'm going to cite evidence in a third sentence. Then I'm going to explain how that connects with my citings and my answer. Proving myself, basically, right? That's what the explanation is. And then I like to leave, kind of an interesting thought, hopefully at the end of my writings, because that's what we want to do is we want to sound as educated as we possibly can. So when I start looking at this and I see there are two different parts, so I could approach it as, okay, I'm going to write this in two paragraphs. I'm going to write just about the different reactions that I see, and then I'm going to write about what caused it. Well, I'm going to challenge you to use compound and complex sentences in the way that I've taught you to puff up your writing, to make it sound more interesting and be more concise with less work. Because when it comes down to it, yes, you're going to write a compound complex sentence, but it's going to be less words than if you had to write two complete paragraphs. So once again, it's asking about the different reactions to leaving the boat and what I think caused them. So my first one is going to be my restating and my answer. I'm going to do that in a complex sentence. Because the first thing I'm going to write, notice I indent every paragraph I write. Violet describes different reactions from being eager to having to be coaxed into the lifeboats. And notice I put in quotations eager and coaxed because those are two ways in which Violet describes what she's seen in those paragraphs from 7 through 10. I put a semicolon because I want to make this a complex sentence, and at the end I'm going to add my answer because it says what caused them. Well, what I think caused them, I think what caused the differences or the difference was fear, right? Simple, easy, complex sentence, right? And it sounds, hopefully, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about and I actually read the story. But now I'm going to go more into detail. It says, what are the different reactions? So I'm going to start talking about some different reactions of which I see. When we continue reading, we see the steward stood around the upper class people with his hands in his pockets. I cited my text there. That's my first C, which is a calm and casual thing to do, right? So when I see that he's not worried, then that might portray to other people there's really nothing that need to be worried about. My next sentence that I use then is I look at John Jacob Astor. It says, yet we can see how John Jacob Astor had to take his wife to the lifeboat, and not only that, and Anne Turnbull was going slowly while others surged forward to embark. So I'm using three different examples here that I can see from the writing, and notice I put a quotation, right? We know that John Astor's wife didn't want to go, but he's like, you got to go. You got to leave me, right? We can see Anne Turnbull. She's like, okay, if I got to go, I got to go. But she's making everyone else go around her. And it says that the others, they surge forward to embark. meaning they were trying to push through to get onto those lifeboats because they were worried. So we have several different examples of how people were reacting in a wide variety of ways. Then it says, with such drastic responses, here I am, I'm explaining, right? Done my two C's, so I'm explaining. With such drastic responses, I think that fear was overtaking some of them, while others were convinced the Titanic was still simply unsinkable, because that's what it was known for, right? So their fear wasn't being engaged, because they, in the back of their minds, just thought, yeah, boat can go down, so we don't have anything to worry about, right? Well, fear was taking over with many others, and they were doing everything they could to get to those lifeboats. Then, as I said, I like to put a little, interesting wrap up to my writing, which I would encourage you to work on doing to become better writers. And I wrote, I can't help but wonder how the calm ones felt when they finally realized it was going down. And every time I read this story, that's in the back of my head, because there are so many people that are just relaxed and they're like, yeah, you guys are nuts for getting all worried and scared and everything. This boat can't sink. And at some point, the realization the ship is sinking, we're going in the water, had to be sitting in. So I have some compound, complex, detailed information I've cited, I've explained, and I've just kind of wrapped up with an interesting little thought. I always want my reader to have a thought or to think a little bit deeper than what they normally do when it comes to what we've read. And hopefully we'll work on being able to do that and be able to do the same thing on our standardized test to show that, yeah, we know what we're doing. All right, so your second one, you're going to be working, you can work with a partner if you would like, or you can work on your own. That's completely up to you. But I would like you to practice writing this in class and turn it in by the end of the day, right? But the topic for this one is, it says the author uses the term blackness in paragraph 5 and then paragraph 21. So at the beginning and then at the end. And once again, HMH calls that again and again. They're repeating the same information or the same terms to trigger something, right? This descriptive word or adjective is used purposely by the author to create a mental image. So your writing prompt that I want you to do on your own or with a partner, what idea is the author wanting you to understand or comprehend by using this adjective? Use text to support your answer. So think about it. Okay, truly read those sections where 5 and 21 where it's being used. Think about what the author's trying to describe there, and then explain it to me. Be sure to have one sentence where you restate and answer your question, two sentences where you cite text, and then explain to me in your fourth sentence how your text supports your answer. Then, if you could come up with an interesting ending, add an extra sentence in there to make it interesting at the end. All right, so be sure to get that done and submit it to me on Canvas, and I will look forward to reading them.